All right, you ready to go?
Thank you, and good morning. This is a meeting of the State and Local Government Committee. My name is Ann Matlack. I am the House Chair of the State and Local Government Committee. Today, we will be discussing, we will hold work sessions for 2 bills, and there will be 2 other items that we will be discussing after the work session. I would like to go around and have folks introduce themselves before we get started. Senator Kimberly Rosen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am Kimberly Rosen, Senate District 8. My district goes from Castine through Penobscot, Bucksport, where I live, the city of Brewer, up to Lincoln.
Thank you. Good morning. Representative Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am Mark Bryant. I represent House District 24, part of the town of Wyndham. Good morning, all.
Good morning. Representative Copeland.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Copeland, and I'm proud to represent the folks in House District 14, which is coastal and downtown Saco for now. House District 14. Thanks.
Good
Welcome.
morning. Representative Downs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I'm Kathy Downs. I represent District 130, which is Bucksport and Arlington. Welcome.
Good morning. Neither Representative Head nor Representative Paulus are here. Representative Reisman.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Walter Reisman. I live in Harrison, and I proudly represent 3 towns, Bridgeton, Harrison, and Denmark, which are in 2 counties. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Toole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Will Toole. I represent the Machias area, plus Lubeck and Eastport. And I think we have Representative Greenwood here with us as well.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I skipped over him. Representative Greenwood. I'm sorry. My apologies.
That's okay. Thank you, Representative Toole, for pointing that out. Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Randall Greenwood. I represent House District 82, which are the towns of Litchfield, Monmouth, and my hometown in Wales, in both Androscoggin and Kennebec counties.
Thank you. Welcome all. And we are ably assisted by our committee clerk, Cheryl McGowan, and by our legal analyst, Lynn Caswell. So today, we will be working on bills that we had public hearings for last week. So the committee will be discussing these bills, and we may ask for others to join us if they have information that's pertinent to what we're discussing, and they can add clarity to our votes. So first off, we have, oh, excuse me, I just buried my list. First off, we have LD 1795. An act to update statutory references to building code standards for public improvements. Lynn, you have an analysis of this, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I did just check the waiting area. Anya Trundy from DAS is here, but Victoria from the School Association, and I'm getting that wrong, is not in the waiting area. But I do have some information with respect to those comments that I will get to. So this was a department bill that was sponsored by Representative Bryant. It's sponsored by it's a bill from the Department of Administrative and Financial Services. They describe it as a technical bill to update the statutes. They requested this at they filed this after the Bureau of General Services was trying to go into rulemaking and discovered that the statute that governs them had not been updated to include the main uniform building and energy code called MUBAC for short. That code has been in statute for several years, and most recently in 2019 there was a bill enacted that now requires all municipalities to follow those standards for their construction, and made some other changes to other minor changes to the statute, the MUBAC statute. So what this bill does is it eliminates references in the portion of Title V that applies to public improvements. So these are changes that only apply to public buildings, public improvements, buildings with state employees. It removes references to prior building codes and replaces them with reference to MUBAC. It removes references to the Department of Economic and Community Development and replaces it with references to the Department of Public Safety, because DPS is now the department that has jurisdiction over building codes. And it updates other references throughout the statute that apply to public improvements. There was a comment raised in testimony by the Maine School Management Association, and they had submitted testimony and said they wanted a bit more time to look at the statute. I did look at the change. There was one change in Title 25, and I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. So the one change in Title 26, which applies to schools, and it talks about, it removes all this language. So this is air quality in public school buildings. It removes language about a report that was required in Title V, and I believe that report had a date of 1988. Well, no, that's wrong. Report of 1989. So this is removing language that references a report from 1989. It also removes languages that says this board can advise BGS on ventilation standards. And I believe that is removed because the MUBEC is the new standard that's applying. So I think that's the section of the bill that the Maine School Management Association wanted more time to consider. And I did just check, there was no additional testimony from them since the public hearing. So the bill, as I said, is pretty much a straightforward bill, but I did have a little bit of a technical issue that I'm going to share. And this is really getting into drafting. There's a sentence, it's up here, that says, when you cull it down to what will be left, the sentence says to adopt for the design purposes of all public improvements, the current Maine Uniform Building and Energy Code. And then it says pursuant to Title 10, Section 9722. So Title 10, Section 9722 is referencing a board. So I think that it needs to be tweaked. And again, this is very minor. Only people who really, really care about drafting care about this. I have two alternatives that I've suggested down below. One is to expand, instead of saying pursuant to Title 2, Section 9722, to refer to Title 10, Chapter 1103, which is the Maine Building Code. And the other alternative is the one below. The third option, I didn't put this here, should you decide to move forward with this bill, you could do an ought to pass as amended, instructing me to solve this technical problem in the manner that makes the best sense. So option A, if you want to move forward and correct this technical error, is the changing the reference in yellow. Option B is to add the word adopted. Option C is instructions to Lynn to fix it. And then I can bring it back for language review. So that is all that I have for bill analysis on this. Any questions?
Any question? Representative Greenwood.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Lynn. Just a quick question. I understand the reference of public building. Can we clarify that that's not a public use building, but a publicly owned building that this references?
Owned and leased, right?
So this talks about a public improvements, and this is under the statute for public improvements, and Anya may be able to
Okay.
to
Ms. Trundy
answer
says
that question.
Yep, Ms. Trundy said she'll give it a shot.
Yeah, thank you
Good
for the
morning, Ms.
question,
Trundy.
Representative Greenwood.
Yes.
I am Anya Trundy. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Administrative and Financial Services. I think that you will find the answer to your question in Title V, section 1741, which is definitions, and it defines public improvement and public improvements. And there, it narrows that definition down to buildings owned, leased, or constructed by the state or any department. It's a full paragraph. I won't read it all. And then it also includes school building construction that is in excess of $25,000 and being funded in large part by state funding.
Does that answer your question, Representative Greenwood?
It answers my question, not in the way I was hoping, but it answers the question. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Are there any further questions for Lynn or Ms. Trundy? Representative Toole.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and nothing for Ms. Trundy or Lynn, but I was wondering if Rebecca Graham is in the audience, could we see if she could weigh in for municipalities? I know they didn't testify, but if she's here, they have similar concerns to what the school folks would have, I would guess. And I wonder if she might have some insight.
She is not here.
She's not here. Okay.
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 And I will say that this bill does not change anything with respect to municipalities. I did look at that, and it's specific to public improvements of the types of buildings that Ms. Trundy described.
Okay. Representative Reisman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. A question for Lynn. In the bill summary, number 2 in the bill summary says, it applies the current Maine code to buildings occupied by state employees. Are employees of a school district considered state employees?
No.
So you're talking about section 2 of the bill?
I'm talking about in the summary of the bill that I opened up. There are 3 lines, okay? And
Yeah.
I'm trying to, so if there's money spent to make improvements, but there are no state employees in the building, then this doesn't apply to them. Is that right? Or did we mean to include state and school district employees or whatever in the bill? And I'm not sure, I can't find it in the bill, so I'm not sure. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's in the bill. 565A, number 1.
So
Does it
I
answer
would
your
have,
question? Go
we
ahead, Lynn.
have to look up what the definition of school or state employees is in that portion of Title V. I believe that the last portion of the bill that I showed before that deals with indoor air quality references school employees, but I guess I don't know the answer to that question. I'd have to look at the definitions in, sorry about that, the definitions in Title V, which I can do.
Ms. Trundy, do you know the answer to that? About whether school employees are state employees, or are they separate issues?
School employees are not state employees.
Thank you.
But I guess if I can expand on that, I don't think our intention was to limit anything to buildings just with state employees. I mean, I think the definition that would apply to this situation is the definition in section 1741 that applies to all public improvements. And I think that would go beyond just buildings that had state employees occupying them.
Okay.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Just a follow-up, should we be striking those words from the bill? That say buildings occupied by state employees?
If I may, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I believe that if you strike the phrase buildings occupied by state employees, that you're going to be including these standards, you're going to be requiring these standards on any state-owned or leased building, which I'm thinking back to another bill we had. So it could include a shed, or it would include anything. And I don't know if that would cause a fiscal impact. I think that would be a substantial change to the way that air quality is governed for state buildings.
Okay.
Not that you can't do that. I just want to raise the issue that you're then expanding air quality standards to a whole host of other state buildings that are not occupied by people.
Okay. Representative Toole?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually go the other way on it. I would just as soon see it limited to buildings with state employees. So I think that would make it easier to support, because I don't think if we could unintentionally be driving up the cost of school construction even more than it already is, that could be a problem. And I'm a little concerned that the school board association, school management hasn't got a clear picture of that. And I would hate for us to do something that was just meant as a way to help the state out of its situation. And yet at the same time, we now go and create another problem unintentionally. So I would just assume leave it to state buildings with state employees, if that is indeed what it is listed.
Okay. Lynn, is your reading of this that it's expanding into schools?
I do not know what state employees, if it's limited in this portion of Title V, to include schools. What I will say is that there are standards currently applicable. So we're talking about air ventilation standards. There are air ventilation standards currently applicable in school buildings and other public buildings. I don't believe that this bill is changing the current standard that applies in school buildings. It's just clarifying that it's just clarifying the phrase main uniform building and energy code ventilation standards. It's not changing what applies to schools or to other public improvements.
Excuse me, Representative Toole.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. And I don't question Lynn at all here. I would like to see, I'd like to have folks from MSMA, Maine School Management, have some time to check with their folks. And if we could, I wouldn't mind, if I hate to make it, but I wouldn't mind tabling this until Monday and having Lynn reach out to them to have them come be a part of our conversation. I don't want to get too bogged down, and I know we're up against it, but I would like to hear from them. I'd feel a lot more comfortable once we heard from them.
Does anyone else have concerns similar to Representative Toole's? Shall we just Representative Copeland?
Well, I feel like if we can't agree right here as a small committee, I can just imagine the number of lawsuits that would ensue after this. So I think we really need clarification on what are we saying here. So if the schools already have ventilation regulations, and this MUBEC is going to be for any new construction, I just don't want to exempt our students in our schools from getting the best, cleanest air possible. So that's really what I'm thinking here.
Ms. Trundy, you have a comment?
If I may, I just want to emphasize the fact that the MUBEC is the industry standard statewide. it applies predominantly to all construction. The construction where it applies to all construction. It's an issue of enforcement in municipalities that are smaller than 4,000. But this bill is not attempting to change any standards that apply to construction. It is just attempting to update the statutory reference.
Thank you.
Because the
MUBEC
references are old.
Yeah. MUBEC has been around for a number of years, and it is the state standard. I know that town code enforcement officers deal with it, irrespective of whether it was a school building, a municipal building, or a local hardware store. MUBEC would be the standard to be used, especially in municipalities above a certain population size. So MUBEC is a standard. It has been the standard for a number of years. This is just clarifying and cleaning up language that is old, that refer to other standards that are no longer applicable. So MUBEC is where all the standards are. This is just clarifying that it also applies to state buildings. Representative Copeland?
Yes, so then why must we stay occupied by state employees? Why can't we just say, you know, full-time occupation by working Mainers or something?
This is a bill specific to Maine, state of Maine structures. So that's what this section of statute deals with, is Maine state structures.
Right, but we're also saying
pardon me?
But we're also saying it includes school construction.
I don't think we're saying that. I think they're just cleaning up language, and one of the sections that we're cleaning up also applies to schools, but this is all about Maine state buildings. Would we care to table, put this bill away until Monday for clarification? Representative Toole?
I would make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. I believe probably just a show of hands for this one, but a show of hands of those who are in favor of tabling this bill today and taking it up again on Monday. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Trundy, for coming to chat with us today.
You're welcome.
Yes. All right, next up is LD 1936, an act to codify the Senate and House legislative districts, the congressional districts, and the county commissioner districts as enacted by the legislature. Did you say that Ms. Flynn was with us this morning?
Yes, she is, Madam Chair.
Okay, Lynn, could you give us your analysis of this bill?
Yes, thank you. So this is LD 1936, which is an act to codify the Senate and House districts, the congressional districts, and the county commissioner districts. So in the second special session, you all enacted 4 laws to adopt unanimous apportionment plan from the Apportionment Commission. And there were 4 separate bills because it was the county commissioner, the House, the Senate, and then the US congressional districts. Those laws did not include statutory language. They included appendices from the apportionment plan, and the laws all instructed the reviser of statutes to codify, create statutory language, and bring it to the legislature in this second session. And that is what LD 1936 does. It creates the language that will go in what we affectionately refer to as the red books. Right now, there is no language in the statutes on those districts. So this bill accomplishes that by specifying exactly what was in the appendices from the apportionment plan. So there are 3 amendments to this bill that you are being asked to adopt. 3 different types. The first type of an amendment is the amendment that Julie Flynn discussed with you at the public hearing. And I can screen share the document that I sent, but it's fairly lengthy. With respect to what Julie Flynn requested, those amendments are based on the very detailed, I believe, the detailed process. I believe Ms. Flynn referred to them as Scrivener errors, and that these were discovered when they were applying the districts into the central voter registration system. I believe there was mention of a district that was water surrounding Long Island and had a rock with actual name on it that didn't have individuals living in it. So the First Amendment are those very technical number changes to the several districts where the Secretary of State's office found errors. And I will defer to Ms. Flynn if you have specific questions on those. The second amendment that you're being asked to make, I'm saving the hardest for last, is the Saginaw term of offices. You'll recall that you passed a bill, and it will be on the floor tomorrow, to correct an error in the term of office for the county commissioners in districts 2 and 3 in Saginaw. You'll recall that the term of office was 2024 and 2022, and those were swapped. So you have enacted a bill out of this legislature. This will be on the floor tomorrow, and you're going to vote, well, if you vote in favor of it and it becomes law, then that amendment needs to be added in. The last one is the Franklin County. So you'll recall that Franklin County was asked to go out to referendum. They had a referendum. They decided to go to 5 districts in 2024. The apportionment plan only had 3 districts. So the amendment is to insert in this 1936 those 2 apportionment plans for Franklin County, 3 districts until 2024 and then 5 districts thereafter. And I will pause now to see if you have any questions, because I know it's a bit complicated why it has been done this way.
Thank you. Any questions? Representative Toole?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've talked to some folks, and I think the general consensus is that we need to do this, we need to tidy things up, and we need to move forward. But I guess my question is, and for anyone who cares to answer, that is this a direct result of the pandemic delaying the census data, which delayed the apportionment committee, which triggered a court-ordered, for lack of a better term, rush to vote, which put us in this situation, or does this normally happen every 10 years?
Ms. Flynn, does this, do you usually have little bits that get tidied up following a census?
Yes, Madam Chair, we definitely do see this. It is a very detailed process, especially when you have split districts. And so there is nearly always a follow-up bill after the apportionment work is done to correct the things that get missed in the first review. And as I said, having a handful of these is remarkable that there's so few. That I think y'all did a good job when you did it the first time. So,
right. Any further questions for Ms. Flynn? There being none, does anybody have a motion on this bill? Representative Copeland?
I move on to pass.
Are there any amendments on this, Lynn, or is it just straight out to pass? Just
There are amendments, so it would be ought to pass as amended.
thank you very much.
I move to, but it ought to pass with amendment.
Yeah, thank you. Any second for this?
I'll second.
Second,
Thank you. Cheryl, could you please call the roll, please?
yes,
LD 1936 ought to pass as amended. Senator Joseph Baldacci, absent. Senator Kimberly Rosen.
Yes.
Senator Kimberly Rosen, yes. Senator Ned Claxton, absent. Representative Ann Matlack.
Yes.
Representative Ann Matlack, yes. Representative William Toole.
Yes.
Representative William Toole, yes. Representative Mark Bryant.
Yes.
Representative Mark Bryant, yes. Representative Randall Greenwood.
Yes.
Representative Randall Greenwood, yes. Representative Sean Paulus, absent. Representative Francis Head, absent. Representative Walter Reisman.
I think his screen is freezing up on him. Representative Reisman?
I'll come back to him.
Thank you.
Representative Kathy Downs.
Yes.
Representative Kathy Downs, yes. Representative Lynn Copeland.
Yes.
Representative Lynn Copeland, yes. Representative Walter Reisman.
Yes.
Representative Walter Reisman, yes. 8 yes and 4 absent.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Flynn, for coming by and chatting with us this morning. Moving on, Lynn, we have 2 other items that are not specifically work session, but for us to deal with today.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So the first item has to do with the Government Evaluation Act. You'll recall that I briefed you, I believe it may have just been on Monday, but it may have been last week, that there's a statute that requires this committee to review that statute every 10 years. The deadline is 2022. And that in the past, what the Committee of Jurisdiction has done is update the statute with respect to the dates of when reports are due and with respect to where certain reports go to, which committee of jurisdiction. Sometimes there need to be changes made because boards and commissions now report to different committees of jurisdiction. So at the time, you all voted for me to draft a bill for you to report out. And when I went to do that, I discovered that the statute does not provide you with legal authority to report out a bill. I went back and researched how this was done in the past, and what is the process is for the committee to request through a joint order that you all be given the authority to report out a bill to update the GEA. And so I, on behalf of Chair Matlack, the revisor's office is preparing a joint order, which should be on the floor tomorrow. And that joint order would then authorize this committee to update the GEA statute. And so I just wanted to inform you of all that and see if you had any questions on that.
Are there any questions for Lynn? This is just the beginning of the bill's process. So it will come back to us for a public hearing and a work session. But we just wanted to let you know that we're moving forward with our decennial chore of reviewing statutes. And when the bill comes to us, we will do the review. Are there any questions or issues on this matter? None? Okay, the next one is actually one of Representative Jewell's favorite chores, inactive boards and commissions. Lynn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you all are familiar with this because in the first session, you all dealt with inactive boards and commissions because the attempt by the 129th legislature to do this was cut short when the session adjourned early. So under the statute, the Secretary of State Secretary of State's office must submit a report to this committee on the second regular session, identifying those boards and commissions that are required to file reports that either failed to file a report and those boards and commissions that reported that they've been inactive for 2 years. So there's 2 groups: didn't file a report for 2 years, filed a report saying we've been inactive for 2 years. The statute says that this committee then has the ability to introduce legislation to repeal those boards and commissions. The process, and I have confirmed this because we did it before, is that you can report out a bill to be referred back to this committee for a public hearing and a work session. And then you can determine which boards and commissions you want to repeal. So there's a two-part question. The first part is the easy one, which is, does this committee want to report out a bill to be referred back? The second question, I'm going to share my screen in a little bit. So if you vote yes on the first one, the second question is going to be, are there certain boards and commissions that you don't want to include in that initial draft? And the reason I ask this now is because drafting the bill to repeal boards and conditions is extremely labor intensive, and it's not my labor but it's very labor intensive. So I would recommend, when I show you this list, if there's boards and commissions you know you're not going to repeal, that you state that now, and we don't have to draft a bill for them. I'm hoping that makes sense to you all. So I guess the first question is there agreement that the committee wants to report out a bill on inactive boards?
Representative Greenwood is saying yes. Yes, it's all, and so is Representative Toole. So probably that would be a good thing. The issue for us then becomes which boards or commissions do we need to add to that list? So Lynn.
If I may, I'm going to share my screen. And I sent this to you this morning, but you may not have had a chance to look at it. So what I've done here is there's the actual language in the statute that says, yes, you can report out a bill. So that's there to confirm for you all that is, you do have that authority. So what I've highlighted in orange. These in the top are these 5 boards and commissions that did not file at all in 2020 and 2021. The 2 in orange, the Advisory Committee for Truancy and the Board of Visitors for Down East Correctional Facility, those 2 could have been repealed in the past, but the decision was made that those 2 would not be repealed. And so the question is, since you just did this in the first session, the question is, do you want to include those in the bill and hear again whether or not those should be removed? The same for these in this category. The difference between these, this category is these are boards and commissions that filed a report but said we were inactive. And I included the reasons for those boards and commissions that identified they were inactive. I included reasons. For example, boards 1 and 2 were inactive because they didn't receive any complaints that needed review. The other boards and commissions on this list all indicated the last time we did this that they wanted to remain active, or excuse me, in statute because they continued to serve a purpose. So the question for you is, do you want to include all of these in your bill? Do you want me to take any out now? You can always take them out later.
Right. So the 2 at the top, the Advisory Committee and the Board of Visitors, we chose not to put them in, not to declare them inactive, or what were the reasons for keeping them on for another go round?
I believe Representative Toole can address the Down East Correctional Facility, and I see his hand is raised.
Certainly, Representative Toole.
Yeah, so I have a long history with the Down East Correctional Facility. It seems to follow me to every committee and everywhere I go since I've been in the legislature. But the long and the short of it is the facility was closed 4 years ago. The administration, this new administration has committed to reopening it, and I got a tour of the facility before I came down here a couple of weeks ago. They're just reopening. So I would suspect they haven't done a report because they haven't been active. So, but having said that, they are now. All that said, on the overall issue, I don't necessarily have a problem with them being on the list, but I don't support removing them, but I think it's worth having a public hearing on a bunch of these different entities, because I just think they all should come to us, and do a report and make their case, go from there. But, you know, I understand, I'm giving my reason as to the circumstances behind Down East, but I wouldn't want them to be the only one removed.
Okay, who else, who has the other hand up?
I do, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bryant. Representative Bryant.
Thank you. My feeling is we did go through these just a year ago. And I don't see why we'd want to have in this session, play with them. I would say ones highlighted, we won't not put in the list. And then in next session, when the new people come in and look them over, I don't think we need to look them over again where we just looked them over last year. We should leave out the ones that are highlighted that we already hashed out and put the ones that aren't highlighted. That's my opinion for this session, because we already went through that. It's a laborious time, and a new legislature, new session. Let them go over it and look at the other.
Okay, so it's your recommendation that we not review inactive boards and commissions?
No, the ones that are highlighted, the highlighted ones that we already reviewed, leave them out, because we already said we want to keep them in.
Okay. And just the unhighlighted boards and commissions should be the ones that we address, in as much as we've talked about the highlighted ones.
Exactly. Due to the time, we're in a crunch time now, and we have a lot of things to get done. I don't see why we want to rehash it in our session where we already did it once. So
Okay.
let the next session.
Okay. So the recommendation from Representative Bryant is that the review be only for those that are not highlighted, that we've already reviewed the ones that are highlighted, and we'll just leave them there. And in the next session, the state and local government will take up inactive boards as a whole again. But for now, we'll just review the ones that are not highlighted. Is Representative Toole, would that be acceptable to you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fine. I didn't want to go through and pick, well, we should do this one, but not that one. But what Representative Bryan is saying, I'm fine with that. I think that's probably the best way to move forward. So, yeah.
Perfect. Lynn, so that, so we've eliminated a lot off the list, but we will move forward with those few, that about maybe half that remain on the list, and we will look at those boards and commissions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I
Do
may
you need a
just
motion
ask,
from us on that?
I was going to ask, at least for raised hands, that is the plan that this group approves.
Certainly. Raise hands for those that would like to investigate just the limited list. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair. And I will move that one forward. And it will be on the floor sometime in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything further on our docket today, or we've completed our work? Representative Toole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would, and I know when we talked about LD 1795, I don't know if it was clear that we should reach out to Maine School Management to have them come on Monday, but if it wasn't, that was certainly my intention, that if Lynn could reach out to them for us and have them be a part of that conversation, that'd be great.
Thank you. Yes, we'll ask, if Lynn could ask MSMA to come chat with us, that would be great.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that will clarify other concerns. Representative Copeland?
I wonder if we wouldn't mind asking also MMA, you know?
Okay, and Ms. Graham, too, please. Thank you. Any further matters before this committee today? Representative Reisman, where's that? Oops. You're on mute, sir. You're on mute, Mr. Reisman.
We have a series of emails from the office, from Cheryl, about signing dockets or whatever you call them. And
Jacket.
I'm wondering where we stand on that, because I'm confused about how many emails were sent and if I owe something, for example. So I was just wondering if you could just fill us in on where we stand.
Okay,
Thank you.
Cheryl?
Yeah, you are all caught up, Representative Reisman. I am
Okay.
still waiting for Representative Copeland and Representative Greenwood and Representative Head. But
Okay.
other than that, the jackets are all caught up. We're waiting for amendments. And once those amendments come in, if I have the jackets signed, we can report those right out. So just keep an eye open, if you would, for my lovely emails.
Yeah, and check in the other category if you're looking on your phone.
Yeah. Check your spam. You might have gotten, they might have looked and said, oh, this is that Cheryl girl again. Damn it, damn it.
All right. Anything further from committee members or Cheryl or Lynn? There being none, I guess we can close this work session today. And I will see folks in person tomorrow.
Yeah.
Terrific. See you
Thank
then.
you.
All right.
See
Bye.
you there.
Bye.